It's a real honor to welcome Senator Tim Scott to the Mike Gallagher Show. It's been a while, Senator. How have you been, sir?
Good morning, Mike. Thanks for having me. I'm doing really well. Thank you. How about yourself?
Well, I'm up to my eyeballs here in breaking news, and you know it's an honor to have you on the show because I admire you very much. I want to see what you think about yesterday's vote because I'm sure that's the first question that reporters are asking you. I want to point out, just for grins, we put up a poll. Do you favor the ouster of Kevin McCarthy? Yes or no? Hundreds and hundreds of people have taken part in the survey here at the Mike Gallagher Show. 79% have voted yes. And so there's definitely a sentiment among the American people that it was time to pull the Band-Aid off. Even if many of us think it was a bad move strategically or timing-wise, a whole lot of people are with Matt Gaetz and the other 7 Republicans.
Yeah, there's no doubt that we're seeing chaos in the House, and the real question is, what's the benefit to the American people? And the bottom line is that there is no benefit to the American people right now for us to take our eye off of the ball. The ball really is closing the southern border. The ball is reining in this spending that we're seeing in the Capitol. The ball is making sure that Bidenomics doesn't have another day to breathe. And all that focus that should be on the issues impacting the American people, presenting conservative solutions, requires a solidified base in the House of Representatives with the Republican Party acting in concert. That is a challenging proposition for us. The biggest winners of yesterday's challenge won't be the next speaker. It is the current president of the United States who's watching that mic. So I hope that we get our act together very quickly, get back to focusing on the people's business, and have the kind of unity that the Republican Party will need in order for us to be successful, not just in 2024, but beyond. This nation needs conservative leadership, and we need it right now. That's one of the reasons why I'm running for president.
I want to talk about your candidacy. I want to talk about your story. One more McCarthy question, though. Obviously, you're in the Senate and Nancy Mace is in the House. Nancy Mace's vote was a shocker. I don't think anybody saw that coming. Can you help give us, as a fellow South Carolinian, can you help give us some insight on what Congresswoman Nancy Mace was thinking?
Mike, I wish I could, but I have no idea what she's thinking. She's a wild card. She always has been a wild card. She continues to be a wild card. And, it was a stunning development very quickly. I listened to the press conference about Kevin's conversations with her chief of staff. So understanding, appreciating what's going on is almost impossible. But this is consistent with who she has been. She walks to the beat of a different drummer. She always has, and we'll see what happens next.
All right, let's talk about your story because it's as inspirational a story as anybody in Washington, D.C. or beyond. You're a guy who is nothing but optimistic. And I have to tell you, when I hear from people all over America who are watching this presidential race closely and carefully, they're impressed with your love of country, with your optimism, with your sort of happy spirit that this is not a terrible place to live. I've watched the left come after you, particularly on the issue of race, which is so galling to me. The way they've gone after you and tried to make race a big factor, it's as if they expect you as a black American to hate the country that you love.
Yeah, Mike, it's the craziest thing ever. I will say that as a guy who's been discriminated against for many years of my life, I understand racism personally and intimately. Today's racists seem to wear the blue shirt more than it ever has, in my opinion. Bottom line is simply this, that in today's America, the racist attacks I receive oftentimes, if not universally, comes from the radical left. They have weaponized race and class, Mike, for one purpose. It is to hold on to political power. You saw the congressman yesterday refer to me as a Sambo. That is racist. It is derogatory, unacceptable, but he's not an idiot. He is malicious. He's the guy that pulls the alarm in the House of Representatives. And to cover his tracks, what does he do? He does what Joe Biden and the radical left do every single time. They hide behind the race card or the class card. They are willing to divide this country They're willing to tell young kids in the inner cities living in poverty and single-parent households that you better shut up and sit down if you're not going to vote blue. That is the kind of demoralizing, debilitating message that comes from the radical left, and they will use any group, anyone, any issue to hold on to their political power. It is disgusting, but it is consistent with the radical left's desire to hold on to power. And they love weaponizing the issue of race against me. Mike, you know this as well as anybody else. When I wrote the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, they called me a prop. When I started working on refunding the police, they called me a token. When I pushed back on Joe Biden's agenda, they even called me the N-word. But the proof of my life destroys the lies of the radical left. I'm running for president because I know America can do for anyone what she's done for me. And we have to restore hope and protect America at the exact same time. And I will be the man standing in the fire because I've benefited too much from this amazing country and the God who I serve.
You know, that's the message that resonates with so many millions of Americans. And frankly, on a personal level, I didn't even want to disparage you by bringing up that despicable slur that this guy that pulled the fire alarm said about you. I mean, he's had quite a week. He's pulling a fire alarm, facing maybe felony charges to try to delay a vote and obstruct an official proceeding. And yes, since you brought it up, I mean, he was reacting to your assertion that America is not a racist country by saying that was you completely pandering to the conservative black audience. The fact that you would want to be VP to a racist, fascist person, I guess he's talking about Trump, is beyond me, but that was him, Tim Scott, pandering to the Sambo section of the black community. The deep vicious racism that comes from the left never ceases to amaze me, Senator.
Well, Mike, think about the conservatives that we celebrate who happen to be black, whether that is Condoleezza Rice or Harris Faulkner, myself. You've got members of Congress now, whether it's Byron Donalds or many others. What we have around the country, Wesley Hunt from Texas, we've been electing conservative African Americans because our party cares more about the character you have than the color of your skin. That is dangerous, however, to the radical left who wants to use race as a weapon to escape their failures. Think about big blue cities like Washington, D.C., where you see a Democrat Congress member being carjacked. But frankly, it's not just a member of Congress. It's everyday people who live in fear. Grandmothers in Chicago and Los Angeles and D.C. are locked into their homes from the time the sun goes down until the time the sun comes up because of the crime spree that these liberal elites have unleashed on the poorest, most vulnerable communities. And when I stand up to fight for the defenseless, when I give voice to the voiceless, it scares the dickens out of the radical left, not because they just want to punish me. They want to punish any person of color who dares to stand up and think for themselves that the great opportunity party might have the solutions that have failed to manifest after generation after generation after generation in these liberal cities.
A lot of people want to support you. You could text the keyword Tim to 34883, I believe, is the number to text the number Tim if you want to get information about the Tim Scott campaign and about Senator Scott's campaign. TimScott.com as well. U.S. Senator Tim Scott and presidential candidate joining us on the Mike Gallagher Show. You know, the real quick final note on the race debate. My friend and former colleague Larry Elder was literally called the black face of white supremacy. The black, so it's as if to Democrats and to leftists and to so-called progressives, you might be black, but you're not the right kind of black American.
Well, there's no doubt. And the website is votetimscott.com, Mike, votetimscott.com. But I will say Larry has endured some of the same vicious attacks that I have, because anytime you stand up and talk about the solutions for people who are hurting, here's the thing. And this, Mike, is something the radical left wants every American to miss. This is not a black issue. It's not a white issue. It's an issue of power. It's an issue of manipulation. It's an issue of control. The radical left, they are not interested in progress. They're interested in control. They're not trying to inspire people. They're trying to manipulate people. And the results that we see in these big blue cities with supermajorities has devastated black lives, white lives, Hispanic lives for as long as they have been in power. What the nation needs, and especially liberal cities need, they need a conservative alternative. Look at Dallas, Texas. Eric Johnson has just become a Republican. Why? Because he was producing results and reducing crime and increasing opportunity. Those results made him into a Republican. I met with him just a day or two ago, and one of the things he said, Mike, was simply this, that if you play by the rules, if you respect law and order, the future you have in this country will be grand. And he frankly said that the maze that black folks go through to get to the top is a maze filled with conservative values, a conservative approach that works whether you're a Democrat, Republican, or independent. It takes conservatism to get to the top.
I know how busy you are. Final question. Let's talk about the 800-pound elephant in the room. Donald Trump has a massive lead over all the Republicans who are contending for the presidency. Let's talk a little bit about what path you have to try to topple the king right now. I mean, the guy's got a 40, 50, 30-point lead over everybody else. Is it wise to go after him and to attack him? One of the things that I think Governor DeSantis is doing is sort of trying to thread the needle. He's criticizing him, but not too much. I just wonder if it makes sense to attack Trump or say, hey, we appreciate the 4 years of the Trump presidency, but now it's time to turn the page. What's the best approach?
Well, my approach has been that I've watched 2016. Everybody attacked Donald Trump. His numbers went up. Their numbers went down. Ron DeSantis tried the same thing earlier in this year. He attacked Trump. Trump's numbers went up. Ron's numbers went down. The fact of the matter is that we should appreciate being in the majority from 2017 through 2020. We produced the most impressive economy in the history of the country. I wrote the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, where we saw a $2.4 trillion tax cut for the American people. Let's celebrate the progress that we made while the former president, Donald Trump, was in the White House. But let's also turn the page, because in order for us to win, we need a persuasive individual who has an eye in the windshield of America's future, not in the rear view of America's past. There's one thing we must admit. We've lost 3 consecutive national elections. And on January 5th, 2021, in the state of Georgia, had we won just a single United States Senate seat, we would have saved the American people $4 trillion. Every single thing we've seen Joe Biden do to this country is a result of us not winning elections. We have to win. I am the person that creates a red wave in this nation. We win back the Senate majority. We expand our majority in the House, and we get conservatism once again embedded from sea to shining sea in this amazing country.
Senator Tim Scott, we're grateful for your time. Keep fighting the good fight. VoteTimScott.com if you want to support his candidacy. All the best, Senator. Hope to visit with you again soon.
Thank you, Mike.
Take care.